Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Movement podcast number 3. This is going to be Legends Form Legacies. Boys, you want to listen in on this one because this one is going to be strong and it's going to be to the point. My name is JP. I'm going to be your host. Sucks for you. I got the microphone, so you don't get to make that decision. But I am sitting here with O, Cam, and Wilson, and we're going to drop some knowledge on you guys today. We're going to bring the truth. We're going to bring it strong. We're going to bring it hard. So I do want to preface, and we're going to start doing this on every one of our podcasts just to make sure that any newcomers that haven't heard any of our other podcasts, for one, if you listen to the podcast, you like it, you get some value out of it and stuff like that, man, you guys make sure you follow, make sure you spread the word, share it with somebody else. But also just to preface, the Movement podcast is really tailored to give direction to men. So if you're listening and you're easily offended or weak-minded, or you're so politically correct that a wishbone has started to grow where your backbone should actually be, then this podcast is probably not for you. So I'm just going to be honest with you guys, man. You've been warned. From this point on, it's all on you. So listen, we're not going to apologize for what we say. We're going to be very truth-driven on everything that we put out there, and we're going to say it exactly how we feel it. So from this point on, though, but to be honest with you, if you're not emotionally weak and you're mentally stable, let me revert that. If you are not mentally weak and you are emotionally stable, then you'll enjoy the podcast. So you guys just stay tuned if you really want to listen to it and stuff like that. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to go ahead and hand the microphone over to these fellas that I got with me, man, because I got a ton of respect for these guys. And if you've listened to any of the podcasts up to this point, you know why I have respect for these guys. Every single one of them are in the game. Every single one of them are learning and they're growing on a daily basis. And there's a reason why I'm sitting at the table with them. So what's up, fellas? How's it hanging?
What's going on?
Low and to the left.
Over the shoulders.
Over the shoulder.
Yeah.
Well done, sir.
Right off the bat, man. So how was y'all's week, man? What's up? What's going on? Anything good happen?
Well, you know what? We have been kicking ass and taking names as we do as a family. And I just want to say, I'm pumped to be here again. I'm pumped to be surrounded by you guys and be in your presence. And I don't mean that as hype. Just like you said, JP, I want to echo that, man. I respect the hell out of everybody that's at this table because it really is truly men that are becoming better men every day and leading their next generation to do the same. And it's just awesome. And it's a blessing to be doing this project with you guys and the movement itself as a podcast. And I've been amazed by the feedback we've been getting and the love we've been getting and just the impact that I feel like has already been had because of what has been the content that's been put out. And I'm pumped about this episode. I really am. I know Legends Form Legacies is going to be a game changer for those that are listening. And I'm just excited about what's coming up tonight. So.
And I echo that, man. This is Wilson coming at you live. It's just really cool to see just what we're doing. And everything that we're talking about is just something that just gets me up and going every single morning. And associating with these guys, having that accountability. If you don't have accountability in your life, man, I ask you just go after it. Find somebody who can keep you accountable and keep you true to your word. And I'm just really excited about Legacies Forms. Or was it?
It's such a hard title, but it means so much. Legends Form Legacies.
Legacies. Oh,
the title of our episode today is Legends Form Legacies.
Leave it to Wilson.
I'm so glad we're not formal. It's so much better.
Yeah. Hey, we're just real guys, and we're just being transparent, coming at you with all of our heart and intention to help you become a better person. And I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm going to be me, and I'm going to screw up sometimes. So just like everybody else out in the world, if you don't screw up, you're not really taking any chances.
Yeah, the first one of you that's perfect, please feel free to comment directly to us, and we will make sure I'd hate to be that perfect because I'd be an asshole too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but yes, this accountability and you guys mean a lot to us. Oh.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is pretty much what everybody else said. Grateful to be sitting at the table with these caliber of guys. To echo what Wilson said, it really is easy to kind of fall and become stagnant if you're not working at something. and just to be around these guys. I mean, you can't sit at this table and not invest in yourself in some form or fashion, because you will fall behind. You have to bring something, to become a shepherd. You got to be able to bring something, and to,
You better have a big staff.
Yeah. So, but to really talk about what to focus on what we're talking about today with Legends Form Legacies, what we're doing will echo and change what's going on in households. So I'm pumped. I mean, and Cameron said it, we're already having that impact out there now, and turning on parts of people's brains that haven't been turned on for a long time. This isn't something that people focus on all the time, with the last couple of things we've done with What is a Man and in Legends Form Legacies. People don't focus on these things. People come home from work, they set down the work stuff, and they don't really work as hard in their homes as they do at their workplace. They let things fall back on the back burner that don't necessarily need to be let falling back on the back burner.
I have something to say.
Nicely said.
Oh, you had said something once before, and I thought it was profound. And I don't know if you can remember this, but you talked about the time spent with your child before they're 18. Do you remember the quote that you quoted back in the day? That was awesome.
Was that episode 1?
No, it was just, this is not even a form of this. You said, like, the amount of work ethic and the things you do in your day job, coming home after 9 to 5, and you're investing into your child, by the time they turn 18, it was like 2, 3, 4, 5 years max that you actually invested in your child in the time that you have. And some of these men that are out there, they squander that. They go and play video games. They go drink beer with the boys. They go play pool. They go watch football for the end of time or whatever. And that was something that was profound. Sorry.
Yeah. So I do vaguely remember that, because it was something I believe I read that I focus on. You spend 8 to 10 hours a day at your job, and when you come home, depending on what shift you work, we'll call it a 9 to 5, 9 to 6, whatever. You've only get 2 hours with your kid before bedtime. If your kid has bedtime, even if you want to go on the high end 4, I'd say on average probably 2 hours with your kids before you have other things to pay attention to, your wife, responsibilities around stuff around the house, whatnot. 2 hours a day. That's it. And when you multiply that out over 18 years and your kid becomes an adult, how much time did you really invest in them? How much did you teach them by the time they become an adult? Or did you prepare them for the shit that is real life? Because it's not easy. It's not freaking like it is in the movies. You don't just become rich. There's a lot of garbage you got to go through and sift through to find the great. Stuff isn't handed to you, dude. This is America.
And we're going to be talking about legacies, and that's why I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah.
But go ahead, JP.
So I think, so to your point, that goes back to the fact of spatial awareness. And I think a lot of people are let's see, how's the best way to say this? They underestimate, or they overestimate what they can do in a day, and they overestimate what they can do in a year, and they underestimate what they can do in a day. So a lot of people tend to look at what they do on a daily basis and they're like, I got plenty of time for that, and they procrastinate and stuff like that. And then before you know it, now it's time to brush your kids' teeth. Yep. Now it's time to put your kids in bed. And then you lay your kids down and you go, well, shit, was it really necessary for me to watch Wheel of Fortune? Like, was it necessary for me to sit there on Facebook for 2.5 hours?
And I think that's more so now than
social media, man.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you, kind of clarifying that, Wilson. I appreciate you bringing that up, because that's a big point. If you come home from work and you sit on the couch and you're looking through Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is, and to Cam's point, that is definitely more of a detriment today than it has been in the past. It's like, just be aware of what's going on around you, because if your kids are sitting there, the reason I'm saying this, I'm so sensitive about it, is because I've been guilty of it myself. I've looked at sports stuff. I've looked at certain apps and stuff where I follow my favorite college teams, and I am a diehard football fan, probably more so than most people on this podcast. And I have sat there and looked at.
I know who you cheer for. But I digress.
And it's all good. I mean, everybody can't be the leaders and the best. But the victors and
it's easy to be.
But
great
anyways,
who's your team?
What's that?
Who's your team?
My team is not somebody that everybody cheers for.
Right.
But however, we're good with that, and we don't think that. Anyways,
do you have a choice other than to be good for that? I don't think you have a choice.
At least
you just got to be good with it.
We're not absurdly wired to think that whatever.
Okay, yep. So you just be good with nobody.
Hey, let's agree to disagree.
Yeah. But anyways, I digress. But no, but the whole point of this is, and I don't care what your vice is, mine's college football. I love college football. And yours may be
and
Facebook.
There's nothing wrong with college football. It's to your point is like spending every night. Do I need to know the stats of every 18-year-old that just got recruited by them?
It's where the priority takes place, because ultimately those stats will be there tomorrow. While you're sitting at your dumb job all day long and you have 20 minutes where you can sit there, you can go check those stats if you want to. So what's more important, your lunch break or your child that day? So the whole point in this podcast right here, and to O's point, is you have a certain finite period of time to invest in your children and in the next generation. But that's not it. That's not the only thing, because ultimately your goal should be more than just your kids. Your kids should be a non-negotiable in your life.
Amen.
The next generation should be a goal.
Yes.
Your kids should be non-negotiable. If you have kids and you're not investing in your kids, I don't know what to do with it. So maybe you guys can give somebody some condolences on that end, but I can't. If you have kids and you're not investing in your kids, then go.
I have something to say on that. So as a parent myself, I have a 4-year-old son now. Just changed. It's crazy how quick they grow. But you are the example. You are the true north in their life. And if you feel like what you do doesn't matter, even in their young infant stage, then you're kidding yourself. The purpose of this is talking about how you're going to become a legend and how you're going to leave a legacy. So you're being a legend. Why you want to be a legend in the first place is because your kid's going to look to you. Do you want them to look at a pro athlete on football or whatever sport, academic, whatever you want to throw out there? Sorry, I can't even get my words out.
Agamemnon?
Yeah.
Agamemnon.
Agamemnon. That was a great movie.
Agamemnon. Agamemnon.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Okay, now I see the direction that you're moving. Go ahead.
Yeah,
carry
lots
on.
of different things. I saw Troy earlier. Or
Hector!
But anyway,
I think it was Scorpion King. Agamemnon?
No,
No,
Agamemnon is on Troy.
Yeah, Troy.
Get
Troy.
out. It's
I just
Troy.
watched that earlier.
Get out. I'm gonna need you
So
for sure.
before coming into this, I actually watched the snippet where the kid was afraid of the dude that he was about to face. He goes, "I would never, go after him."
And that's why nobody will remember you.
Yes,
Yep.
that's the point that I was going to come across.
Remember your name.
Nobody's going to remember your name because you let
watch it
fear
tonight.
control and conquer your life. So what I'm saying is the kids are looking up to you. Do you want them to look at you or some superstar that's going to fail them?
Here's the other point to that is, do you want them to look at you or a superstar that's going to fail, or just a superstar that they never have any kind of connection with, or they want to look at you who's looking at the superstar, just looking at their stats? Like, I don't want my kids to ever, and JP, I agree with what you said about, like, the reason we can talk about this, and it's not easy, like, just so everybody knows, like, this is not an easy conversation to have because we've all been guilty of these things, I believe. I know I have.
I have.
And then you come to this realization, like, what am I doing? I'm concerning myself more with some 18, 19-year-old punk ass that is not going to even be around in 2 years, that's playing a sport that has no influence on my life whatsoever other than my entertainment, as opposed to hanging out with my kids and developing my children into young men. And I'm like, and then on top of that, they're seeing me do that. So like now this is what they're going to duplicate. Like they're going to think that dude that I've never met is more important than them. Subconsciously, that's what they're going to think.
Because you wear their jersey too.
Right.
You're like, oh, this is the guy.
they call it a
and
champ
not
stamp?
saying that you are the guy.
Champ
You should be the guy.
Ow. Champ stamp.
solid,
That's so that's brutal.
I stole that. I'll admit, but but when I heard it, I was like, whew.
That's brutal. Now there's two sides of that coin, and we'll talk about that later as we get into it. But ultimately, sitting around with you guys, I respect your opinions on stuff. So the way that I want to approach this is legends form legacies is the topic, right? So the only logical way for me to do it with an engineering background is let's break it down, right? So let's look at it.
Super analytical.
Absolutely, there's no doubt about that. So let's
bring the A3 document.
Oh my god!
I didn't bring the A3 on this one, but let's break it down, right? So let's start with legends, and then we'll move into the legacy part of it, and then we'll combine it together so that we understand really like where that whole statement comes from. So, I mean, dude, I'm super freaking pumped about this whole topic because I love the idea of, and I'll just paint the picture for you guys. This is something that I saw. This isn't something that I created, but this is something that I saw that really hit me deep because I have two boys. I got one on the way, a boy on the way. So I'll have three boys within the next couple of months. But it was a picture of a man standing there with a hat backwards that said legend on the back of his hat, looking into the sunset at the beach. The waves are rolling in. There's a few clouds out there and some sun rays breaking through. And what really got me was the fact that this dude is holding his 3-year-old son in his hand, and his 3-year-old son has a snapback twisted backwards, and it says legacy on the kid's hat. Now, if that doesn't tug at your heartstrings, then you should probably change the channel now and maybe find something that has to do with cosmetics or something along that line. I'm just being honest with you, man. If that kind of stuff right there doesn't hit you, like, dude, I ain't got nothing for you. This is not the podcast for you. So to be honest with you guys, one thing that I would really like to see from you guys, and this is kind of a question that I have for you, is for me, I look at guys, and I'm a big sports buff and military buff. So like a Vince Lombardi, a General Patton, Theodore Roosevelt, I mean, even Martin Luther King, don't be a hater, but Tom Brady, these are legends in my mind. When I say legend, what comes to mind? Go ahead.
Wayne Gretzky.
Oh, Wayne Gretzky. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would expect that from you.
I mean, because I've seen him play. I mean, I got to see him play when he played for the Kings.
But you're a hockey player,
really?
so
yeah. They were in Vegas. He played at the UNLV Stadium. It was my brother's birthday, I think, or
This
somewhere
is
around
after he
that time.
retired the NHL.
This is before he retired.
Really?
Yeah. He played for the Kings at the time, I believe. It was the
Yeah,
Kings.
he always played. Well, not always, but
I agree with
He
that.
played
That
for the
dude's
Blues
a
for a bit. He
legend.
played for the Kings. It was. I remember watching him play, and then looking back now and having and being so much more involved in hockey through the years. The man really was the greatest dude. He could tell the plays that were going to happen before they happened. It's like he was a part of the flow of the game. What he's doing now isn't so. I mean, the Coyotes are struggling a little bit, but the guy is still known as the greatest hockey player of all time, and his legacy is that. I mean, it's incredible.
So his legacy is the
just
impact, though. The fact, to boil it down to brass tacks, is that he impacted generations because you're whatever age you are. But the truth is, there's people like that. Like you say, Michael Jordan, and I'll just use him because I wasn't. I grew up in Mississippi. You don't even know what hockey is. Like you never seen ice. Right. You know, when you were in Vegas, I don't even know how they have ice there.
Pretty big hockey crowd out there.
It is, especially now.
Die hard,
good, right?
Big time.
I mean, Nashville's got the Preds, so home team. But the fact is, like, you look at Michael Jordan, like, whether you love basketball, hate basketball, it doesn't really matter. Whether you're 20 years old, 30 years old, 50 years old, 60 years, like, everybody's got that, like, he's been impacted just from some standpoint by Michael Jordan because he is a generational talent. Now, we're not obviously not just talking about talent, but you mentioned Tom Brady, 6 championships. I mean, the dude, right?
Did you say we're not mentioning talent?
No. We're not just talking about talent.
Oh.
We're not just talking about, hey, you're a talented football player.
Yeah, okay. I got
that
you.
isn't. But
have you seen that guy thread the needle?
I know.
Like, get out of here! Come on,
no,
man.
Defensive, and I was complimenting the guy.
I know you don't. I know you don't like him.
Huh?
He's getting so offended.
I know it's like
because
really
nobody likes him. Everybody's like, "Oh, Tom Brady, the tuck rule."
Inflated balls and all.
I think he's great.
Okay, all right, carry on then.
I love his story. I mean, there's
Well, in
nothing.
that case,
I like Tom
he's,
Brady.
He's really good.
I like Tom Brady. Just freaking chill out.
Carry on.
Yeah, like untwist your panties. For a
Greatest
second.
of all time. Greatest of all time.
I mean, I'm not
We know how to
disagreeing
push
with you. Like,
JP's
listen,
buttons.
here's the truth, man. Like, let's get it down to what it is. 6 championship rings. Somebody else bring 3 to the table. Right? I mean, like seriously, before we even start talking, like, give me 3.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, but my point is, that's from an athletic standpoint. That's from a like a socially, like, high level, whatever. I mean, like, there's just something like, obviously in America, like, sports is a big thing, but we're not just talking about that. We're talking about the impact that you have on the next generation from how you are as a man. But it's the same mindset. You know, those people got to where they are for, you know, discipline, different habits, things that they chose to, decisions they'd made on a daily basis, all those kinds of things, not just their talent. So, you know, the purpose of this episode, I believe, is to break down, you know, what that looks like from a mentality standpoint.
Sure. Yeah. So early on, I want to know who comes to mind. So obviously you got Wayne Gretzky. You went Michael Jordan early on. And then
that's an easy one.
And then transition. Well, no, it doesn't matter. Easy just means even more accomplishments on that certain individual to look into. So Wilson, who's first person that comes to mind when somebody says legend?
Oh, well, so let me preface what I think about legend, though. All right, so I think that
you can't redefine it.
I'm not going to redefine it, but to me, though, it's not just your accomplishments, but it's also behind the closed doors, like how you embody your entire life. So it's very hard to find the right individual where you go, yeah, you're an awesome basketball player, but your freaking marriage sucks. Does that make sense? So,
which Michael, you know, I mean, like, probably not on every level he should be a legend.
I was just using that as a preface. I'm not saying that he is, but I'm saying that it's very finite on when it comes to legend to me. So now,
the reason that
successful
just
people.
to preface though, Wilson, the reason that I'm asking what a legend is to you guys is because I'm going to drop some knowledge as far as what Webster calls a legend,
okay,
and stuff, and then we're going to go back and we're going to look at our definition of what a legend is, which I would take more so as gospel, for lack of better words, than what Webster says.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure that, so I do look up to certain people, what they've done, what they've accomplished.
Give me a name.
Sort. So I'm thinking of like our Donald Trump. You know, you think about what he's created. It's going to be putting me in a spot which
legend.
He's a legend, dude. Like literally won a debate, won a race, and became a president using way less money than the competitor, and is done a lot of things, great things for our America. Now, do I believe in everything that he's done with his marriages and his family? But if you look at his upbringing of his kids, though, it's pretty spot on. They're really, really solid. So that's one person that comes to mind.
This may be the single most controversial episode thus far.
Yeah. Well, hey, here we
yeah,
go.
but I couldn't agree with Wilson more. If you want to look at the quality and the character of an individual, you look at their kids.
Yep.
And if you look at Donald Trump's kids, I don't care what you think about Donald Trump, his kids are
solid.
Very respectable young I say young individuals. Now his kids are older. His daughter and his oldest son are both like killing it.
Right.
And you can hate on them all you want to, but they've learned the principles and the mundane stuff that we've talked about in 2 episodes now. And if you guys aren't starting to catch on that the daily routine, the daily habits.
Started episode 1.
Right.
And catch up.
Go ahead, O. What's up, buddy?
I'm just going to say that, you know, I think our audience needs to be mature enough to basically, like I said before, that you should be able to tolerate Wilson's opinion without accepting it as your own. Right?
No, absolutely. No, I agree with that.
If someone on the other end of this is listening and they're just having a freaking fit, this isn't the fucking podcast for you. Like, grow the fuck up.
Yeah,
right.
Get past,
that's his truth.
Personal opinion.
Yeah, exactly. That's
So
his
if you
opinion.
look at-
And let him have it. You know what I'm saying? If you don't agree, that's fine, dude. Yell at yourself in the car, I guess. I don't know what to tell you, but that's what Wilson believes. So if you're not a Trump fan, that's cool, dude. He didn't ask you to be one.
Nope.
Dude, shoot us
Absolutely
a comment,
not.
man.
Yeah.
Like,
Show us
shoot
your
us a comment and be like, dude, I think Trump's a piece of shit. Whatever you think. It doesn't mean that it's right. But it does. You're welcome to your opinion, just like we are. Like we're not going to get butthurt.
We're talking about legends, and we already said they're imperfect, and we are. But let's call it what it is. He's a billionaire. He's been a billionaire for as long as I've been alive, and I'm the oldest dude in the room. And now he's the president, and he's going to be the president again, as far as I'm concerned. So, like, if that ain't a legend, I don't know what a legend is. Right?
And the other thing to go to that too, is you're going to hate. The only reason why you're hating is because he's got so much money that you can't do nothing about it. And he's
you're not
he's
a legend
making an
because
impact.
how much money you have.
No,
However,
it's not about that. It's not about how much money you make.
Money typically is just a reward of how many people you've served and how many people you've impacted. So not always, but a lot of times. So there's some good legends.
So that's mine. And then my personal belief, I would say King David, did a really good job with what he had to do. You got Elijah, who was in the Bible, and in my personal belief, was a really good person that you could follow and what he did. I mean,
David and Elijah were real people. I don't care if you believe in Christianity or not. They're real people. And I can't agree with you more. David, if you want to look at a legend, a living legend, David would put a lot of men today, probably 99.9% of men today, to shame.
Right.
So I agree with that. And
Plus
that's not a
retainer.
Christianity thing. The guy lived. He was real. He was on planet Earth back in the day.
Just historical record.
Yeah, this is not.
Y'all need to read Kings and just read about his men that followed this dude, about their accolades and what they were able to do and accomplish in that time. It's mind-blowing.
So to Wilson's point, that's a big thing, and that's really what we've been talking about for the past 2 episodes now, is there's a certain aspect of, I truly believe, and I don't know if any of you guys that are listening to this podcast have heard this, but good times create weak men create hard times create strong men create weak times.
Good times.
It is a forever virtuous cycle, and it happens forever. Like it will happen forever. I believe. I just believe that's the way that it is. The greatest generation lived decades ago. I talked about this in the last episode that we talked about. We'll probably discuss this more, but there's no reason why we are living in good times today that we have to create weak men. I don't believe that we have to create weak men, because it is a personal responsibility to get better every day. Yesterday should have been the easiest day you've had to this point in your life. Yesterday should have been the easiest day. And I don't mean the easiest day based on, now I got to go into more struggles and stuff like that. I mean the easiest day as far as I've created habits that when I look back 10 years, I go, I would have died if I was to do what I did today 10 years ago. If that took that person and looked at what I'm doing today, that person would have died. They would have suffocated and died. They would have curled up in the fetal position and would have freaking died. Like, that is the goal in life. As a man, that is the goal in life. When you die, you should die on empty. In my opinion, you should come in on 2 wheels with an empty tank, and that's the way things should go.
And I'll say, just to that point, that does challenge me. And if that doesn't challenge you as a listener, you need to self-evaluate yourself again, because that's going to challenge you every single day, and that's why I like sitting at this table with you men.
Your capacity. I mean, like, it's amazing how much you get stretched. Like, if you choose to stretch yourself and you choose to associate with people that stretch you, and you choose to take personal responsibility for your legacy, which is your children, but also the other people in your sphere of influence that you impact, and what you come to realize is that as that sphere of influence gets larger, and not just like you have more kids, like JP and his wife are having another child, like, it gets larger. But that is a good example. Like, you have one kid and you're like, holy shit. Like, there's a lot of stuff changes, right? And there's a lot of different things you have to do. Then you have a second one, like, holy shit. Like, now there's 2 of them. Then you have a third one, like, holy fuck. You're like, what am I going to do now?
Shit to
like,
fuck.
I'm running zone defense now, And,
Yeah.
But your capacity stretches, right? And you become better because you don't slack on your responsibility, because you understand that if you are going to be a legend, and listen, you may be a legend at the Michael Jordan level, or Tom Brady level, or whatever, and we could argue whether that level is where you want to be or a different level, but I think about legends within my own family, or whether legends in different families. Like, there's a grandfather somewhere that's more of a legend to 2 generations, 3 generations later, more than Michael Jordan was, right? Because they can look at him and go, that dude right there.
And that's very well put, Cameron. And that's what I'm getting at from the way that I'm looking at this. There are legends that are very popular and they're famous, and there's certain aspects like a Wayne Gretzky or a Michael Jordan or a David or whatever it is. But there's also persons or people in your family that are like, that dude set the stage for our family. Yep. How many times, I don't know about you guys, but just from me personally, from my family, I don't necessarily have the like go-to, like that's the rock. That's the true north. But I have heard from a lot of other families, because I'm very curious about stuff like that, where people are like, dude, my grandpops, my great-great-grandpops, dude, that guy was solid. Like the entire lineage of my family has dropped from that man.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I could definitely say that about my grandfather for sure.
And
stories are still told about him to this day. He's been gone several years. But people still, and guys at work even. I talked to a guy that worked with him, and he's told me the same story I've heard a million times from other guys about how he got a fight with a guy in the office one morning because the guy was talking smack. Just being my grandfather was being a shepherd and taking care of business because this guy was just a turd.
Oh, I like that.
And man, it was, dude, it's so cool, because you hear it, and this is years back. I mean, my grandfather was a young man at the time. I would say he was a little bit older, but not still young, and it's just cool to hear that. And he was the rock, dude. I mean, dude.
What's awesome about that, though, is like you can even hear it in your voice, is that was your grandpa, man.
Yeah.
And like to hear that he was just like, even if it was just for then, even if that was the only time that he was a badass, which probably wasn't, but even if for like 2 minutes he was a badass, your backbone stiff and your chest pokes out.
Yeah.
You're like, that's in my blood, dude.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
who I am, right? I remember there's a story that I got told. My dad didn't tell me. My dad's a humble dude. I think any great man's a humble dude, and he doesn't tell his own story. Somebody else will tell him for him. Somebody else that saw him or heard about him or whatever.
If you're good, you'll tell everybody. If you're great, people will tell you.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
And I had one of my friends in high school that his dad and my dad went to high school together, went to college together, and his dad, kind of a jackass, but he told me a lot of cool stories about my dad. and dude, like to this day, that's the only dude that's ever told me about him. But like he told me this one about when they were two different ones when they were in JUCO, and about what my dad did to like stand up for somebody and to defend somebody or whatever, and like in something that was like, I mean, literally like came over a table, like kind of nonsense, like stuff that you would see like, holy crap, what's going down? And my dad did it because it was the right thing to do to defend somebody else's honor or whatever. And I've never heard that except from the one dude. Like he didn't do it because he wanted the story to be told. He did it because it was the right thing to do. But when he was telling me, it wasn't just like, man, that's a cool story. It was like, that's my fucking dad. That's awesome. Like, and then you like want to raise your own level. And so when we started talking about this concept or this title of Legends Form Legacies, that's what stuff I was thinking about. Is like, am I doing stuff that my kids will hear about? Like, I have to be doing stuff that my kids will hear about, because then they'll know. Then they'll know, like, this is the kind of stuff I need to be doing. This is what's in my blood. This is what's in my heritage.
Yeah.
I want to be a badass too.
And that's the entire point of this, which is really cool. And even in my own life, I had some stories talking about my grandfather. My grandfather was kind of like the true north for us. And there were a lot of bad things, but there were also a lot of good things which overweighed the bad. And he basically, just created self-independence. He created income. He created a lifestyle that a lot of people wanted to look to, and he did things that were hard. Every single day he was working. He was doing stuff that was challenging him every single day. He took personal responsibility in all of the things he did. He raised, 3 kids, with his help of his wife. And she just, just the things that he did even helped and impacted me. And if you were impacting other people around you, then you are what we would consider somewhat of a legend, or a legend in the making.
Yep.
But your influence completely, talking about, impacting the world, impacting the nation, impacting your cities, your towns, you are the focal point. And in my wife's side of the family, her grandfather, I should say, was a pinnacle. He was married to his wife for almost 70 years. You know, when I first met him, he was very silent, very humble, wouldn't talk about his military background, wouldn't talk about how he raised his family and stuff, but you could come into that environment, you could actually feel it. And if you ain't feeling it, that's the thing you're missing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to go back on when you asked what is a legend, and I've had some time to think about it too, but I think a legend is someone that when you go to their funeral and you're, you know, messed up about it, it's not somebody you can get over in 2 weeks. It's not something it's not, you know, you're not moping around about it, but it's not something you just go there and then life goes back to normal. You know, it's someone that's always on the forethought of your mind. It may be a legend. I'm talking legend in your family or maybe close circle, friends, whatever. A community is and we're going to talk about becoming legends also in this episode. But I think a lot of that is, you know, what are you doing to become it? You know, what do you know, everyone's like, oh yeah, it's a freaking legend. What are you doing? Or I want to be a legend. I want to start a legacy. What are you doing to become a legend? You know, what are you doing to become the person that people don't just go, you know, and meet for drinks after your funeral and then freaking forget about you after a couple hours, you know, and just go back to their normal daily lives and like nothing ever happened. You know, what are you doing to impact other people?
And that goes to what I always believe in, and I've talked about and said this multiple times, is your dash matters. You're born, you die. In between is what matters. And if you have a funeral at the end of your life and only 5 or 6 people show up, that's your legacy. That's your legend. And if you're not people centric and you're not actually helping other people while you live, you're not being legendary in our opinion. And you're not definitely creating a legacy, because what you leave behind, your goal would be as creating legacies in your life is those people when you leave go, man, what would this dude do in this situation? What would this dude do in this adversity? Would he cower down and not stand up, or would he actually do something to protect his own?
JP, go ahead.
No, so that's my whole goal, and that's really what I was trying to pull out of you guys. Is a legend becomes a true north by default, right? And you hit the nail on the head there, you know. And I don't care if it's playing hockey with Wayne Gretzky or playing basketball with Michael Jordan or, you know, trying to follow in David's footsteps and stuff like that. It becomes that true north. Like when you look at situations and stuff like that, because as a man, I'm going to be honest with you, man, when you look at society today, there's not a lot of older men that are there to really counsel like there is for women. I mean, to be honest with you, man, women grow up from day one playing with their Barbie houses, and they do their stuff, and they have their pots and pans, and they do their whole lifestyle. And from like at 2 years old, they learn how to cook and clean and raise kids, and they're carrying baby dolls and stuff.
And look pretty.
Well, most men don't get that stuff. The reason why most men don't reach a legendary lifestyle is because by the time that it takes you to put in the mundane bullshit stuff that you have to do to get there, most men give up because there's nobody standing in front of them going, hey, dude, keep going.
And there's
keep
no immediate
moving.
response to it. There's no long-term vision, because unfortunately society is so self-serving that they're thinking like, what am I getting out of this, or what is it, how is this making me feel today, or, you know, whatever, as opposed to, I don't care what I feel like today. I don't care if I want to do it today. I don't care about any of that nonsense. I just care about what's my legacy. What am I leaving behind? When I die, what are my kids who are they going to be? You know, or if I don't have kids, you know, who are the people around me going to be? You know, have I made a positive impact or a negative impact? It's one or the other.
Can you imagine if the whole society would actually have that outlook in life? How much of amazing this world would actually be?
Yeah.
Say, well, instead of taking their eyes on them and put their eyes on other people.
Dude, if everybody thought about everybody else except themselves, yeah, that'd be freaking fantastic. I mean,
we should start
our word for our house last year was, or maybe it was 2 years ago, whatever. We do a word every year about, you know, what we're going to focus on. It was others. Others, like regardless of man, woman, whatever, just like think about others. And if you're a man and you're talking about being a legend and we're talking about forming legacies, then your legacy is others. It's your children. And again, if you don't have children, it's your next generation, whether they're yours or somebody else's. Like the fact of the matter is, whether it's kids in the neighborhood or kids at your church or kids at your work or somebody else's kids or whatever, they're all looking at you. They're all looking, and I think that's where people miss it. And we've talked about the shopping cart at every episode at this point. I think probably this is going to be something like one day we're going to have shopping cart t-shirts. But
a good idea.
That is a good idea.
really
Like
good idea.
shepherds of shopping carts.
Kroger and all them are going to send us thank you emails.
Exactly.
Thank you for whatever you
Save
guys
us
are
on
doing.
labor and
Because
time.
now our shopping carts are all in the corrals because everybody feels guilty.
The purpose of this podcast and this movement is to make shopping carts go into their place worldwide.
If that's all we do.
That's all we want to do.
That's sole purpose.
But the truth is, it is that same thing that we've talked about the last 2 episodes. Is not just about you. It's the other person that's watching you, because somebody is your legacy. You may not even know. Like, you may not even know the person that was impacted by your life. Guess what, champ? It ain't about you knowing if you impacted their life. It's just about the impact.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Wilson. I know you got something on your heart. I can see it in your face.
Yeah, I was trying not to lose the train of
Usually in
thought,
the
but
smile.
the other thing that I come to is we all have our own circumstances and the things that we have experienced. And one thing that just destroys a legend or a legacy or a legend becoming is that they allow their circumstances to dictate their future. Instead of saying, okay, I didn't have a dad, or I had a loser of a person that I could look to, or I didn't have that true north, or I didn't have this and this and that, and whatever the sappiest thing you can think of in the world, I guarantee you there's somebody else out there that's overcoming and becoming a legend, even though they had it worse off than you. So get out of it. Get moving forward and creating yourself, and focus in the mirror and say, am I proud of you today? Did I do what I needed to do to become a legend today?
Yep. So just as a disclaimer for this group, there is no excuse folder in the Shepherds of Men podcast, the movement.
Zero.
There is no there, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, anybody that's listening to this right now, we bust each other's chops more than anybody could possibly bust our chops.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, when you talk about accountability, the greatest thing that I've ever had in my life is 3 other men that look at me and go, "Hey, get off your ass.
Don't be a jackass.
And read." Yeah, don't be a jackass. Don't be an asshole and stuff like that. You know, and I none of us are perfect. But that's why we need the other 3.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Nobody out there that's listening to this podcast right now is perfect. That's why you need the movement in your life. That's why we need you guys to be part of the movement, because there's a lot of imperfect people out there. Nobody's perfect. The expectation is not to be perfect. Every single one of these legends that we've laid out, which could go on for days, are not perfect. They all had problems. So don't take it the wrong way. Don't feel like the biggest problem that I feel like people have is that they take a legend or they take somebody that has accomplished something great and they put them on a pedestal. Mm-hmm. They don't need to be on a pedestal. From your perspective, you should give those people respect for what they accomplished, but you should put it into perspective and understand that a Tom Brady won 6 Super Bowls, not because he was the most amazing athlete in the world and for some odd reason God put his hand on his shoulder and told him that he was going to have the greatest arm ever. The guy prepared every single day.
He's not even that talented.
No, he's not. Not at all.
And compare, I'm not even busting his chops. Like, I respect Tom Brady.
6th
obviously.
round.
But, like, 7th, wasn't it?
I think
Whatever it was. It wasn't
late,
the first.
late 6th round.
And he's not that athletic.
Did you see the
he just
pictures?
Works. He works at it every day, like more than anybody. And
When
like,
he
he's
wants
so
to
disciplined.
and when he
Okay.
doesn't want to.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's how bad I am on sports. Literally, when I heard the word Tom Brady, I thought he was part of the Brady Bunch.
Oh my God! Get out of here. So, anyways,
Just letting you know.
that's me.
For any of you that don't know
ridiculous.
Wilson, he
Get
saw,
out.
he saw somebody wearing an SF
Wilson,
hoodie.
get
and
out.
It was like South.
Oh,
Get
people
out.
laugh at that. That's
get
funny.
out. No, but seriously, that's the truth, though. And we talk about this, and I feel like a broken record. But the fact of the matter is, people. So the reason that people do not succeed, and we're going to get into so what is a legend, what makes a legend, how do you become a legend? Because ultimately, I want. In this episode, I want the audience to take something from this. So for me personally, I want all the guys that are listening to this, and ladies, if you're listening to this, that's great. But all the guys, I want to walk away from this and go, you know what? What can I do every single day to make myself a better person? What can I do every single day to improve my legacy that I'm leaving behind? And this is the thing that just drives me nuts. And it drives me nuts because it's something that I struggle with. The reason people don't succeed is because it's so freaking easy not to.
Oh my God.
It is so easy not to succeed.
We're just lazy in general.
No, I mean it goes back to the point, and I'm gonna throw some stuff at you guys here in a minute so that you guys can like put some of your points out there. But the mundane bullshit stuff that you have to do every day, and what I mean by bullshit is I got to read 20 pages out of my book. I got a book. I need to read 20 pages out of it. That day, that 20 pages is bullshit to you. I have to get it in before I go to sleep. But over time, over the next 6 months, that 20 pages starts to become, I'm hungry. I'm starting to gain some knowledge. I'm starting to gain some wisdom. And when you look at that asshole in the mirror that used to be a sandbagger, you start to say stuff to that guy. You start to go, wait a minute, did you say that? Was that you? And then people start to compliment how articulate you are. People start to compliment about some of the actions that you take, because
You start to hear stuff. You're like, you say stuff, and you're like, who's that guy?
Who was that? Where did that come from? And it's even like the shopping cart methods, things of that nature. You start to take care of these little things. You start to, in your mind, you start to go, if it takes less than 5 minutes, let's do it.
Yep.
Like, and that's something that all you guys can take. If it takes less than 5 minutes, just freaking do it. Don't let it sit there. Just go freaking do it. If it takes 5 minutes to wash a dish that's in the sink, do it. Your wife will appreciate it. I promise you. You might get laid.
Yeah, I was about to say you might have no sex life for
just
that, too.
do it.
I was gonna say my wife actually asked me that the other day because I came home, was helping with dishes. She's like, "You trying to get laid tonight?" I was like,
Yeah. You don't ever have to ask me that again.
I don't know if you know this, but there's 5 bowls drip drying over there right now. I don't know if you saw that or not.
5 minutes worth of dishwashing, 1 minute worth of sex.
And it's funny. It's funny that we always point out all these things. Oh, did you see that? You did that? And that? And that?
Did you notice?
Yeah.
but it is important to, and you guys talked about what is it? Acknowledgments, edification, and not asking for it. Right. So I think it's important to do these things, but don't expect anything in return for it. It's that much sweeter when you do get acknowledgement for doing these things.
Oh, yeah.
When someone's like, man, what have you been doing? Like, you're different.
Well, ultimately, it's a long-term play. Like, the whole thing is like, what's the legacy? It's like, it's a long-term play. Like, I am becoming so my kids can become, so the next generation can become. It's not an immediate gratification thing. That's what screws up society. It's not an immediate gratification. Like, if I read 20 minutes tonight, tomorrow my world will not be drastically different.
Right.
Wait.
But if I read 20 minutes tonight over 10 years, my world will be drastically different, and my kids will be different than I could have ever imagined.
You can't pop a legacy in a microwave.
No.
No,
No.
Take that out of here.
Sweet.
And the other thing too you got to understand
right
is
there.
that you're also, when you're doing those things, you are creating, like how I look at it whenever I'm raising my son and our kids is I'm creating like a platform, or I'm raising the bar, getting higher, so where he's not in the mud. I'm actually out of the mud, above, climbing this mountain, if you will, if that's what you're looking for, as like something, an image in your head, is that you're supposed to climb that mountain as high as you can get it before your life, and then that's where your son or your daughter takes off from you. You blaze that trail, if you will, and make it to a point to where you go, hey, here's where we've reached financially, here's where we reached mentally, and now you are supposed to take my mantle and go further. If you're going and saying, I'm still in the mud, and you're giving your kid nothing. Yeah. And now he has to rise above. And our responsibility is to get that point to where you're at a certain platform. Sorry, went puberty.
He just went through puberty. That was like really great. I just saw you pop a beard out. Like, that was quick.
Yeah.
I wish I could do that. Maybe I'll hit a high note here in a minute.
Right, maybe. I hope you do. I feel like I do. But no, you get to that point, and then that's where your kids take off. You're not supposed to have them in the ground.
So let's be honest. So one of the big things is the evolution of man, and we talked about this. You shared a link with me that I read through the other day, but the evolution of man has changed. So all of you guys have touched on the microwave mentality, right? So everybody's like, hey, it's got to happen tomorrow. If it doesn't happen tomorrow, then it must not be worth it. So that's the biggest thing about it, is really being able to identify with your children what the separator is. The biggest thing today is everybody wants a participation trophy. Everything has to happen tomorrow. If you're there, you get a participation trophy, and it's like, oh, I was there, so victory, and stuff like that. There is a certain aspect of showing up that's great about becoming. You have to show up. You have to be there. I agree with that, but you don't need a ribbon for showing up. What you need a ribbon for is consistency.
Me and my house will only have first, second, or third. That's it.
Yeah. But so I guess what I'm getting at there is there's a different way, and you have to be very cognizant of how to address the next generation when we're talking about legacies. So for our children, the real thing that we need to be teaching our kids is longevity always supersedes the instantaneous. Always. The tortoise and the hare. Like that story, the reason that story has become a legend, for a lack of better words, is because of the fact that it makes sense and it works no matter what. A legend is somebody who does the right thing day in and day out and day in and day out. And like Cameron said, 20 years down the road, you've read 100 or 1,000 books, whatever it is, no matter what your reading is, as long as you're getting better every day, 10 years down the road, you are a completely different person than you were 10 years before that.
But if you can't self-discipline for whatever time that is, it doesn't matter. I mean, you'll see differences in a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. Like the more it compounds, the bigger the difference. But if you can't self-discipline, then you'll never, ever get that personal development, which then will lead to the next generation development and lead to your legacy. It just ain't going to happen.
No, I agree. So
I was going to say the only thing is as you are becoming a legend and creating a legacy, you can't compare yourself to somebody else's best, because I think that we fall into that trap that we see this social media life, and the social media is everywhere, and everybody's going on these trips and excabbing it like these amazing, awesome stuff, and you're like, oh well, I don't do that, and now you feel like you're beating yourself up, and you say I'm a loser. Well, you're not a loser. You're just where you're at.
Yeah.
So you just get better every single day from where you're at.
But let's be honest. 9 times out of 10, the people that are posting that aren't where they're claiming they're at.
Yeah,
it's all bullshit.
Their parents pay for the trip.
Or their parents pay for the bullshit.
Have you ever seen that commercial? It's like, I have a house, I have a car, I have this, I have that, and I have debt up to my eyeballs.
Yeah.
Everybody's living into debt, and they live this facade that it's not real.
If you're living your life for likes, you're missing it, man.
Yeah. But that goes back to, if you're watching the news, if you're staying on social media, if you're going with the whole debt curve with everybody else, like it's like, oh, you got to keep up with the Joneses, so it's okay to be in debt. No, it's not.
Oh, boy.
Like, pay for your stuff.
It's okay to be in a cash position too.
Exactly. Yeah. It's great to have cash flow, but I don't want to get too off target here. One thing that I want to do is make sure that everybody that's listening to the podcast that we're on episode 3 here is what are some characteristics, because I'm going to tell you right now, Michael Jordan was a good athlete, but he got cut from his high school basketball team. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady is a unbelievable quarterback, but he was a backup at Michigan, got a chance to start, went to the NFL in the late 6 rounds, and got a backup job to Drew Bledsoe, got a chance to start and took advantage of it. Walt Disney was fired from his first couple jobs because he lacked imagination and things that these guys are not amazing. They're not some kind of esoteric, like, demigod or whatever it is, kind of thing, but they all share common characteristics. So that's the next area I would like to say is like, what do you guys see that these guys had as characteristics that really took them to the next level?
I look at Colonel Sanders, and you go to my thought is that these older people get to the point in their life, they're like, I'm 60, what can I do, what can I accomplish? But then you look at Colonel Sanders, man, he's got finger-licking good chicken, and he wouldn't have had that if he wouldn't have quit. If he would have quitted, none of us would have had any kind of chicken like we taste.
I think he was acquitted.
He
was acquitted. The crimes of having.
He was acquitted of all the chicken beaks that were found at KFC.
So the point is that you don't quit. I think legends don't quit. If you quit, you lose your legend.
Yeah,
That's
I
truth
think
right there.
to add to that, they're relentless.
Yeah.
They're always hungry for more, you know. And a lot of times when everyone's ready for them to be done, they're not. You know, in the case of Colonel Sanders, man, I mean, that was 65 when he when he struck success. So it's a lot of that is, okay, I'm retired, and then I want to go back.
Yep.
I'm not done. I'm not ready for more.
Heck, you can say Ray
If
Kroc.
you're a real
same
legend,
thing.
you don't turn it off, man.
No.
Like, you just can't.
So would you agree that all legends have truly failed more than they've succeeded?
100%.
Absolutely.
Easy. Yeah.
100%.
If you're not
thousands
failing.
of times more.
Because I'm just
How do you learn if you're not failing?
well. So I work for a very large tech company,
It's the biggest in the world.
as
right?
everybody knows. It's a very large tech company.
Starts with an A.
But so the owner of the tech company that I work for has come out and said that we have spent tens of billions of dollars on failures,
But you've
and
been
he's
multiple billion for
prideful.
it.
But he's prideful in it. I think that you guys all had outstanding points, and from an older characteristic, and like, you know, Colonel Sanders and stuff like that. It's a great point. There's never ever 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 a time where you should just stop. Like, I'm too old.
Never.
Like, ever. So personally, what do you guys think makes a legend? If, let's say that I have a blank slate and I'm walking into this and I'm listening to this podcast, I'm 17 years old. I'm not an adult yet. I'm 17 years old. I'm listening to this podcast because maybe I didn't have a father in my life. I didn't have something to really steer me true north. What makes a legend? What is in it? Go ahead, Cam. I know you got probably something on your heart with this and stuff, but what creates a legend? Because it's over time, but what creates a legend?
Well, I think it's, you know, obviously a lot of things we've talked about with like relentlessness, tenacity, mental toughness, you know, those kinds of things. So if I'm a 17-year-old and I'm listening to this and I'm contemplating what makes a legend. Obviously I've got to look at the examples. Regardless if I had an example in my own personal life or not, there's plenty of them out there. You know, I think that's just an excuse that people use. But I didn't have a own personal. We've talked about this a lot. Obviously, I didn't have a personal example in my house. So what, man? Get over it. Go look for another example. But what will make you a legend is that mindset, is that mental toughness. It's that I'm going to be better today than I was yesterday, and I'm not going to stop. There's not a clock. There's not a time frame. Until I'm 6 feet deep in God's country, as Blake Shelton would say, I'm not done, man. I'm not done. Like, I'm going to use everything I've got, and I'm going to do it. And I think the other piece of it is having a mindset of not doing it just for myself. Because if you're doing it just for self, you're gonna cave one day. You're gonna be passive. You're gonna do all this weak stuff. But if it's not a self-serving thing, if it's a other-serving thing, you have to have that mentality. How do you have a legacy? Which it means what is passed on to the next generation if you're not thinking about others. It's not possible, right? So I think all of those characteristics add up to that sum of being a legend.
So I want to interject this, and Wilson, I know you got some things on your heart too, but because it pertains to what you said, it's a quote that hit me pretty hard. I heard it last week, and I don't know who the author is. I apologize, but this was said by somebody outside of me. But it said, "Every man that does for himself takes with him to the grave, and everything he does for others, he leaves behind."
It's powerful.
So
It's that thing we talked about earlier. Like, what is somebody saying? What's your eulogy? You know, and that's, some people, that's a morbid thing to think about. Not really, man. And it's not even a prideful thing to think about. Like, what are they going to say about when I'm dead? It's not about you. It's just about what could be said when I'm in my casket. What could be said that the 10-year-old sitting over there could hear and go, I want to be like that dude.
Right.
absolutely,
Absolutely.
In my mind, that's what I feel is what's going to be said when I'm spent, man. When I don't care if I get run over by a bus or if I die in my sleep, whatever it is, if I'm 50 or 150, when they're telling me goodbye, and whoever loves me says whatever they say about me, or whoever hates me say whatever they say about me, the kid that's sitting there listening goes, man, I want to do what that dude did. You know? That's what it's about to me.
you got to go out on E, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
You got to go out on E.
Feels the same way.
I feels
the same way.
Feels.
Yeah.
Feels. So, Wilson, you got something that you want to add to that, or?
Man, I just think that exactly what Cam was talking about is that, the people that you impact directly is what matters. And if you're all focused on you and what you can get, and like what we talked about in a couple other podcasts before, you don't care about your name, you don't care about what you're leaving behind, you're just missing the boat. And if you're the 17-year-old kid that we're talking to, man, it's like every single day you should be looking at the mirror and saying, okay, how can I improve today? How can I take today and do better? And then at the same time, you should be thinking about the principles and the things that other men of valor, men of old, that they did. And go research it, man. I mean, go watch some movies. Go watch, Braveheart. Go watch William Wallace with how he lived and moved his country into freedom.
Right there,
Go look at the Patriots Day. Go look at the shooter. Read a Navy SEAL book. I think it boils all down to is extreme ownership. I really think that book and that mindset of saying, I'm going to own today, and not sway from that.
Well, not only that, but how many people have you impacted because of your existence? How many people's lives are better because you lived? And I know I've heard Will Smith say that before, and I have a lot of respect for Will Smith. That is one of the hardest working guys I've ever seen in my life. I love Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, because I don't know of anybody that doesn't like that dude.
He's just loving.
I don't know of anybody that doesn't like Dwayne Johnson, like nobody. But Will Smith hit the nail on the head. How many people's lives are better because you lived? That's what creates a legend. There is a certain aspect of being a legend within a family because people know you and they know that you worked your ass off and stuff like that. But I still think that there is a certain responsibility, and that's the entire reason that the Shepherds of Men has been created. There's a reason why we are created. You are not an accident.
No.
There is a purpose that you have on this planet. There is something that this planet needs, this country needs, and that's why you're here. There's a need that you are here to fulfill. I 100% agree with that statement. But I do believe that the amount of people that are affected by your lifestyle, by the way that you live, by the example that you've created, that is what creates a legend. A legend like William Wallace, you just mentioned that. How many people are better off because William Wallace went up there and fought whenever it was like, you're a moron.
Right.
Why would you do that?
He died for what he believed in.
Exactly right. And there's a fine line there. So I want to segue that into the next part of what I want this podcast to be. We know what a legend is. We know what kind of makes a legend. Why do so few meet that level? Cameron, I know you got something.
I think personally it's because what we've talked about throughout this whole movement is that they don't know how. They don't have that example. They haven't seen anybody lead the charge. And whether they feel that pull, because I think everybody has that hum inside of them where they're or at least I hope they do, where there's something pulling them to something greater. There's something pulling them to their purpose in life. And as a man or as a male, I feel like you're pulled to that man mantle that we talked about in episode 2. But maybe you don't know how to do that, right? And you're afraid of doing that or whatever it may be, and so you just don't. And the truth of the matter is, after a couple of times, I won't say a couple times, but after multiple times of just saying, I don't know, or I don't do it, you don't take action, and eventually it just dies. It just dies inside of you, and it's sad. It's freaking sad.
To add on that, you just have the wrong habits. I think a lot of guys know what they want or wish they had certain things, but they don't create the right habits to get them. Everybody wants to be. I don't know many guys that don't want to be legends. That don't want to be awesome. They just don't know how to get there. Mm-hmm. That's it.
At least for your family. Even if you're like, I don't know about being a legend for the 1% of everybody ever.
Yeah.
But at least for your family, who doesn't want to be that dude that there's a painting over the fireplace?
Right.
That freaking dude right there is why.
I want mine on the ceiling.
Be the grandfather that people tell.
I want mine on the ceiling of every bedroom.
Go ahead, Wilson. I know you got something. I see you over there chomping, dude.
There's two things. First thing that there's a great man once said is observe the masses and do the opposite.
Right.
And if you're going to follow people all the time,
Yeah.
you're going to go to the destruction. You're not going to go anywhere great because everybody is looking for the status quo. They just want to do the bare minimum, the average. I don't want to stick outside of the crowd. I don't want to get my tomatoes thrown at me because I'm not man enough to stand up and actually
The nail
stand
that
out.
sticks out gets hammered, right?
Exactly. There was another point, but I forgot.
Yeah.
There was another point I totally forgot.
And I probably had a little bit more time to think about this than you guys did because this was kind of my topic. But I think the biggest reason that most men don't reach the legendary status is because they let good get in the way of great.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Men get comfortable today. You can go be mediocre and you can live a decent life. Why the hell would you come out of a mediocre, decent life when you can be comfortable? You can watch your football game. You can relax. You can watch movies. You can do your 9-to-5 job. That sounds awesome. That's great. And that's good if you want your legacy to die when you do.
Yeah.
Well,
I
it
call
ultimately
you
comes down,
selfish.
what's the definition of great for your household? Like if the definition is a big house and nice cars and a big income and a lot of money in the bank account and a beautiful wife and, all this kind of stuff, like that's fantastic. There's nothing wrong with any of that. And all of us are blessed to have all the above. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is that ain't a legend, dude. That's just monetary bullshit. Except for your beautiful wife. That's a blessing from God. And thank you. And, he takes care of his boys. So, but the fact of the matter is, like, that's just worldly stuff that you're working towards. That doesn't develop a legacy. I can't pass on to my son, like, you're really going to have an impact if you have a nice house. No, you're really going to have an impact if you have your house together, if you have your shit together, and you're leading things the way you should, and you're impacting other people. All that other stuff doesn't matter.
But so let's be honest to that point right there. I truly believe we're in good times. Right now, we're in good times. Mm-hmm. Economy's good.
Yeah.
There's no true war going on. Things of that nature and stuff like that. We're in good times. So everybody should be thanking their lucky stars. You're blessed to live in the time that you live right now. But do not take advantage of the fact that you're living in good times and you can kick back and throw your feet up and you're lazy boy. Mm-hmm. Every single day you should be getting better. You should be planning for the worst.
Get yourself uncomfortable
and expecting the best. Like that should be, get yourself you said this in our very first podcast. The biggest problem with most people is when they get comfortable, it's time to relax. For us and for men and true men and legends that are really trying to become something greater, that is a really shitty feeling.
Never comfortable.
Yeah. Never.
And what I mean by shitty feeling is I know every single one of us, and the only reason I can say this because I know you guys very, very close. Every single one of us feels shitty if we're not working towards something great.
Yes.
If we're not working towards something great and we're sitting in our house and all of us have done very well. Don't mince words. We've all done very well with what we're doing, and we can be very comfortable with where we're at. But if we're not working towards something great, every single one of us are unbelievably uncomfortable.
Something's off. And
it's uncomfortable.
Something's off, and our wives can tell something's off.
Yep.
Sure.
My wife asked me the other day, you okay? Just like, out of nowhere, you okay? And you know what it was? I was having a day where I was feeling a little bit average. I was not average, but like, I know I'm above average, and that's not an arrogant thing, to like, don't get it twisted. But like, I know we're doing good. But like I was just feeling like we've been doing good at that level for a little longer than I'd like.
Right.
Right.
More.
And so it's like, are you okay? And really, I was like, yeah, I'm good. Because that's what a real man would say. Yeah, I'm good. So, but the internally was, I've been this good for too long, right? Like we're no longer growing.
Yep. I agree.
And one thing, going back to the thought that I forgot about, is how I live my life in general. For me, to what gets me going every single day, what gets me to want to do more and not be average, is that I want to change my family's brand. Mm-hmm. Because I'm the only one that's going to be able to do that in our family, to say, okay, Wilson's family it means something. Yep. And a lot of people, if they would just say, hey, I may come from an orphanage, or I'm adopted, or I don't have a father, or if I don't have this true north in your life and I don't know how to become a legacy, you could create change your family's brand and do something great.
Yeah. Man, to be honest, it's very hard to convey this to people that are listening to this podcast. But ultimately, if you're comfortable, you're in a bad spot. You're in a really, really bad spot if you're comfortable. And I'm not saying that as you're in a bad spot where your family's not going to be able to eat and stuff. But you're in a bad spot if you rely on talent and you rely on where you're at because you're capable of being where you're at. You're in a bad spot. You should attack your fears. I'm going to go back to something that I saw or I listened to Will Smith talking about with what he was saying, because I respect his work ethic above most. That guy's ridiculous. But he said, I was absolutely terrified of fearing things. Mm-hmm. I was terrified of fearing things. He said, so what that did, and this is kind of counterintuitive to what it would normally be, I attacked everything I was afraid of. If I was afraid to jump out of an airplane, I jumped out of a fucking airplane because I didn't want to be afraid of it anymore. Because guess what happens? When you jump out of that airplane, you land on the ground, how scared are you of jumping out of an airplane? So, I mean, with that being said, Cameron, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, honestly, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about this whole concept of not just as yourself becoming a legend, but then that legacy that comes behind it, forming that legacy, is, what am I doing to show that I'm not scared of things? Like, whatever it is, if it's something made me nervous, or I heard a story once about somebody that I respect highly about getting sucked into the riptide in the ocean, and it was scary. It was like a legit thing. If anybody's ever, we were down at the beach a couple weeks ago and 2 people died, from the riptide. It's a real thing, and so like they barely made it back into shore, and it was him and his son. And he was struggling. He's paralyzed on one side. The story's amazing, but they made it back in, and then it was a few minutes later. The son saw his dad, who's paralyzed on one side, walking back out to the ocean to take on the ocean again. And he was like, "What are you doing?" He said, "I have to go back out right now."
Damn right.
Now here's the thing: he had to go out for not one reason but 2. He went out for one reason because he had to get over it in his own mind. That is not going to beat me. But secondly, you talk about forming a legacy? You're fully healthy, got all his arms and legs and everything's fully capable son is watching his father, who he respects more than anything, go back by choice. Go back out there to conquer his fear.
I love it.
Not only did he build himself conquering that fear, he built his son. And that, in my opinion, is when a legend forms a legacy, because he is it's almost like it transcends that generation, and it goes, I'm not only building myself up with what I'm doing right now, but I'm strengthening my next generation. I'm strengthening my son just by what I'm doing, just by my actions.
Removed every excuse.
Removed it completely.
And to that point, because since we're talking about a topic of fear as well, is what is fear? Fear is false evidence appearing real. And you guys got to understand that who's listening to this is fear is what you make of it. And we're born with 2 natural fears: fear of falling and fear of loud noises. Every other fear in your life has been put on because of you. But like what you were just talking about in that story, if he would have allowed that fear to conquer him, he would have never touched the ocean again.
Well, and here's the thing is, like what I think it was JP was saying earlier, was the easy thing to do would be to not go back.
Right.
I mean, the fact that you made it in and you survived, that's a cool story. You can tell people, you and your son can rally around that. That's good, And most people are like, that's good enough. But that's the problem, is the whole masses thing. The masses would have said that's good enough. But the 1% would have said, nope, it ain't good enough. Because I may, even if I'm mentally strong enough to go, man, that fucking sucked. But I'll go back. I'm good. The problem is, I don't know if my son's good.
My question is, did that guy go back because he felt like he needed to, or did that guy go back because his son was watching him?
His son was
exactly watching. Right. That's exactly right. And whether, and here's the thing, well, man, I think my son will be okay. Well, don't think, just do it. Mm-hmm. Just double down and say, I know he's going to be okay, because I'm about to walk my happy ass back out there. And I don't know if you've ever seen the dinosaur movie or whatever, but he's like, come on, salty ocean or whatever. It's the same kind of mentality. Like, you can't beat me, man. You can't beat me.
Wilson, I know you got something on your heart because I can see it in your eyes, but there is a certain aspect of being a man that bothers me more than anything in the world, and that's domestication. Men have become domesticated.
The book I'm reading right now talks all about that.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's something that bothers me more than anything, and it bothers me about church. And it bothers me about men, but domestication. There is a certain aspect of a man that is dark, it's wild, and it's aggressive. And it's
necessary.
And that's what I'm saying. It's okay to be that way. It is okay to be an aggressive male. That is your job. That is your responsibility. That is why a lion is not afraid of an elephant. Because he is aggressive. His attitude is, I will eat you. Like, I don't care. I'll attack you and I'll eat you. Because if you look at everything, I mean, to be honest, so if you look at everything with an elephant's bigger, it's heavier, it's stronger, it's probably not faster, but there's nothing about a lion that should tell that lion it's okay to attack an elephant. But there's a certain attitude about it. Men have become domesticated. It's not okay for you to be aggressive. And I don't mean aggressive like you walk up, somebody didn't put their cart in
punch him in the face.
in the little buggy corral, you punch him in the face. That's not what I mean.
Just go tackle him.
But I mean, stop being so damn timid.
Yeah.
Right.
Stop being so timid and passive about everything. Like, as a man, it's your responsibility to look at another man and go, bro, like,
I mean, let's call it what it is. Do you really want to be an elephant or a lion? I mean, which one even sounds cooler?
yeah.
I mean, when is the last time you sat in your room with your kids and be like, oh, let's be elephants?
Hey, how many of these legends?
Alabama's pretty big on some elephants.
So
that don't tell you everything you need to know, right?
So there's a book. There's a book that I read. I'm not going to throw it out there, but he talks about Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan and about their mentality, and about how Michael Jordan walked out on the court and literally told the other four guys that were out there with him that you guys, if you want to bitch and moan, can take your ass over there and sit down. I'll win this game by myself.
And he meant it.
And he did. He meant every bit of it. It wasn't even hype.
He'd have done it.
He meant every bit of it. Like, give me a couple people out of the crowd that are spectators out here just to throw me the ball.
And he gave people one chance in practice, too.
Oh,
right.
If he couldn't rely on you in practice, he sure as hell wouldn't rely on you in game day.
But that's why he's a legend.
Right.
That is why that dude is a legend.
He didn't slack anywhere.
No.
Even for a moment. Like, we've been talking about all this different stuff. Like, he didn't slack for a moment. Like, some people are like, it's okay if I'm not on my game right now. No, it's not. It's really not. And I'm not even saying this personally as somebody that's always on their game. I wish I could say 100% of the time I'm on my game. I'm not. Right. I'm not. Like, that's what I'm moving towards. But like, when I'm not, I recognize it. That's what I can say is I recognize it now is I could have done better. I could have been elite in that moment. I could have been elite. I could have been excellent in that second, and I wasn't. But Michael Jordan, he wasn't either. He's not perfect. We talked about that as well. There's only been one. But more times than not, he was excellent.
In his field of focus. So here, like, this is one thing I want to read to you guys while we're talking about this. So the Webster calls a legend and as an extremely famous or notorious person, especially in a particular field. So that goes back to what we're talking about. What you said, he was not willing to compensate. There were no excuses, nothing. When it came to basketball, you had one chance, like O just said. You had one chance on the court with Michael Jordan, and if you didn't get it right, he didn't care. He would put Billy Bob Thornton out there to dish him some passes. He didn't care. Dude, I'm telling you, do you think that made his teammates work harder?
Yeah, for sure.
Or did you think it made him chill?
Anybody that had half a set worked harder.
So do you think that might have affected his legacy?
Absolutely.
Well, sure.
Yeah, he didn't water it down.
Right.
And JP, you're probably going to get to this because I know we had a sidebar conversation about this particular topic, talking about Alexander the Great and how he conquered all of the known world. And when he conquered those societies, those countries, and those places, dude, he had people following him to go conquer more. And when it came to a point to where they were like, is this enough is enough? You mentioned in that story, in that book that you were reading, that he literally came out and stripped in front of his entire team, entire group of men and said, who's got more scars than I do?
Yep.
he didn't just lead from the behind the scenes like a lot of people that you see nowadays. He led the battle in the front line.
Well, you know what that shows is you're not just telling people what to do. You truly have a vision of what you're trying to accomplish. And I think that's what a lot of men are missing nowadays is a vision. Men today do not know what they're trying to do. You know what they're told? Go to school, get a college education, get a job, pay your bills, and die. That's what everybody's being told. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, fellas.
No,
That's absolutely right.
Is that the truth or not? I mean,
100%, but I will say this: I am encouraged by this generation, millennials, whatever. I don't know what the new name is. It doesn't really matter. But I'm encouraged by the mindset because we talked about this earlier, either this episode or last episode, about the kind of everything coming full circle. Like there's this entrepreneurial mentality that I think has been rejuvenated within America. Young people being hungry and wanting to go out and own and participate in free enterprise and like build a brand for their family and do these things that create choices. And man, I am encouraged by that so much, and that's why I love what we're doing here because I think there is a fertile ground that is being fed right now. And I think it is being received because there's people that maybe for so long have been hungry for what they need as leadership and as a legend to follow or a legacy to follow. And you know, Shepherd's Men is going to be a part of that for sure, but there's just it's necessary, you know, it's absolutely necessary to not just go status quo, as Chris says. You know, to go out there and create and produce and become and grow more and grow better and then impact and then pass it on. You know, like I think the heart of an entrepreneur is not to just create for yourself, but then like what can you give back? What are you leaving behind? What's your legacy? Sure.
And please don't misunderstand. If you're listening to this podcast, there is no negative feelings towards education. It's a matter of a practical application of the education that you are applying. Mm-hmm. So make sure that what you're doing is applicable to what your passion is or what you want to do. Don't get a psychology degree so that you can go work in a factory and sit there and do a cubicle job
in the river and then go get the same
Dude,
job.
Don't go get a BS degree just to get a BS degree when you're not going to work in the field because it's BS.
Well, that's what blows my mind. As long as you go get a 4-year degree, a bachelor's degree, you can go work in a cubicle. Oh, that's outstanding. That's great. Even if it doesn't pertain. I know people that are managers that have fashion degrees, a 4-year fashion degree, and they're a manager over people. You know, to me, okay, that's fine. You got a good job. That's what you got. You got a good job. But honestly, if you really want to go after your passion, your dedication, dude, find something that you're passionate about. Find something that fires you up and dig into everything you possibly can with it. I don't care if there's not a class for it. Read books. Mm-hmm. Do anything that can gain more intelligence, because I'll tell you right now, 80% of multimillionaires did not gain their millions from college. Mm-hmm. I promise you. I'm not downing college. College is a business. It is a business.
The 20% actually own the universities.
I'm telling you right now, it's a business.
Even in my own personal experience, my own grandfather was a self-made millionaire. He dropped out of middle school, what he would call high school. Like he literally dropped out because he got his wife pregnant.
Well, when you tell me I have to take volleyball and underwater basket weaving,
right,
while I'm in college,
I got an A in that.
I actually did great in that. I died once in underwater basket weaving. I came back.
I was rejuvenated.
I really considered that really close to SEAL training, so I hold that close to my heart. I have a basket pin that I keep.
That's sweet.
That's a joke for anybody that's listening right now. Well, no, but that's real stuff though.
That's true.
Real talk.
Yeah, I mean, it really is.
Seals, we love you.
Dude,
thank you.
You guys are
some
awesome.
bad motherfuckers.
No, absolutely. I'm not at all discounting what they do. But that's the truth. When it comes to college, like there's a certain aspect of it that's business. Now, if you want to go to college to become a doctor or a physical therapist or something like that, go to college and get educated. I think it's a good idea. If you're going to get a cubicle job, then find something you love to do and educate yourself.
And please don't go to college to get an entrepreneurship degree.
Oh my gosh! Your
sake.
professors don't even have
I'm
business
majoring
background.
in entrepreneurial whatever. But
Hey,
who are
actually-
you learning from?
Here, let's rephrase that. If you go to college and you want to get an entrepreneurial degree, go up to your professor day one and ask your professor, how many businesses do you own and how successful are they?
And if he's owned some, keep listening to the dude.
Yep.
If he hasn't, you should probably drop that class.
Yeah, you should probably find something else to do.
It's like asking a divorced person how to stay married.
Right.
All right, so we've pretty much covered the
You've been
legend
married
part of
6
it.
times. How do you do it? That's a bad question.
So we've covered the legend side of things and stuff, and I want to move into the legacy, and this is going to be a little bit quicker because I know we've covered some of this stuff already with the legend side of things. But just because this table right here, we all have kids, and if you don't have kids, then have some kids. Get married
should
first.
practice.
You should probably get married
Practice
first. You
is
probably
awesome.
Practice
probably
like
do it
5,
that
6,
way,
7
or
times.
practice until you do
Yeah.
get married, or
And just
get
leave
married
one
and
there
then
one day.
practice.
Just
Yeah,
leave one
That's the
there.
way that should go.
Yeah, get the order right.
That's yeah, but so I know we're all like crazy passionate about the next generation. Even if you don't have kids, you should be passionate about the next generation because the next generation is going to be running things whether you like it or not. And to be honest, I'm kind of curious what y'all's thoughts are. Like, what's the first thing that comes to mind whenever I say legacy? The word legacy. What does that bring to mind? O?
It's what you leave even after you're gone. It's evidence of your existence.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like we talked about earlier with the eulogy, and I know that maybe sounds morbid to some people, but I think about that stuff, man. I think about, like, what are people going to say about me when I'm dead, when I'm gone? Does it matter anymore? Is it like 3 or 4 people showing up saying peace out, or is it like hundreds of people weeping and crying? Not that I need that, but like, to me, that just shows impact. It just shows like that probably tomorrow they're going to think about something I did too, or probably the next day they're going to be thinking about something, like I think legacy truly is like, how much did you spend your life sowing into the next life?
Absolutely. And I can piggyback on what Cam said, man. I mean, I remember watching American Sniper and seeing Chris Kyle's at the end of the movie, his whatever that
Eulogy.
not the eulogy, but the cars, all of them traveling and everything, and then the whole roads and the interstate, and everybody was showing up about this one man who lived and did some amazing things.
That's a freaking legend right there.
That's a legend. That's
Another one,
to
yep.
me. I'm looking at your Dash Matters deal. Is that when I die, I want so many people. I want it to be a celebration. I don't want the crying and all that kind of stuff, because I'm in a better place in my mind. But for my impact, like what you were talking about, your ripple effect, what are you going to leave behind? What O was saying, and seeing that there's that many people that have been impacted by you, and it's filling up the entire rows and everything. Like, there's not enough room to hold all the people that came to say, I was impacted by your father. I was impacted by that person or whoever you are. That's your goal in life.
Yep, and that's something. So that is a prime example of why I respect you guys so much, because we can overcomplicate this thing as much as we want to, but success principles are success principles. As a legend, you followed success principles to the utmost to become a legend. As a legacy, your success principles define your legacy, right? So that's one thing that I love about you guys, and we're going to continue to do these podcasts, and we're going to continue to talk about things like this, but ultimately, success principles are success principles. I don't care if you're a freaking Potter, or if you are a Super Bowl quarterback, or if you're the president of the United States. It doesn't matter. Success principles are consistent across the board. I don't care what you do.
And it's not easy.
So just for the listeners that are out there, and once again, we'll preface the fact that none of us are perfect. We're all in pursuit of becoming something better than what we were yesterday. What is something or a couple of nuggets that you guys are doing to ensure that your legacy is a positive legacy? Cam,
I mean, for
knock
me,
it out, buddy.
For me, it's what we've been talking about a lot lately, which is example. It's like, how am I personally developing myself but not just in my own time, but where my kids can see it. And I know, and we've said this millions of times over, but not everybody has kids, so don't get caught up in that. Like, don't look for the thing that will give you the excuse to not do it. Look for the reason why you should do it. And for me, the reason is because I have 3 dudes looking at me going, at least 3 dudes. I know for a fact I got 3. I probably have hundreds more than that, but. And Oz is looking at me too, but I got at least 3 little guys that have no other option but to look at me. They have other options, but I don't want them to have to look anywhere else. And so the physical standpoint, like the working out, the reading, the mental, the emotional stability, the mental toughness, like when shit hits the fan, am I different? No. When things are emotional, am I solid? Am I a rock? Yes. When I'm trying to grow myself, am I reading? Yes. And when I'm physically trying to grow myself, am I working out? Am I eating right? Am I cheating on my meals? All these little things, man, it all adds up. And so for me, it's that total package of, and it's not perfection by any means, but it's, can my kids look at me and go, man, I want to pick up some of those habits, you know? Like, or I remember when I was a kid, I watched the way, and my dad wasn't really into the personal development and the physical stuff as much. But he read his Bible every day. He grew himself in certain ways, and he always cared about people. And I just remember, one of the things I remember more than anything is we grew up in a tiny little town, but everybody knew my dad for towns all around, and everybody talked to him. And like anytime somebody saw him, they wanted to engage with him. They wanted to talk to him because they knew for a fact what his attitude was going to be. They knew if they talked to him, they were probably going to feel better about themselves when they got done with the conversation. And I just remember that. I just remember how he made other people feel when they were around him. And for whatever reason, that stuck with me. And I just want my kids to be able to go, I want to make people feel like my dad made people feel.
So give the viewers a couple of bullet points of things that they can practice on a daily basis that will correspond to what you just said.
Okay, so I think really, really practical stuff is you have to read. You 100% have to be reading something that is growing you personally. And we joked about this before. It's not, fictional stuff. It is personal growth. It is whatever, mental toughness stuff, whatever you're thinking, whatever it may be analytical. It may be just attitude. It may be whatever you're feeling like you're needing some to fill in the gap a little bit on. You have to read every single day. Not only because of the content you'll get out of it, but because of just the habit of doing it. You'll realize subconsciously not many people are doing that. Like percentage wise, it's a very small percentage of people are doing that every day. So you'll just feel like a freaking champion every day. The other thing practically that I believe you need to do, at least on some level, is try to eat right. And that may sound super simple, but just try to eat right because it is a discipline. It's so easy to eat poorly. I did it today. All right. So I'm not judging you. I did it today, but it's such an easy thing to do. So when you don't do it, when you discipline yourself to eat clean, it helps you grow. Right. And then an exercise standpoint, it's the same kind of thing. It's so easy. It goes back to the slight edge stuff. It's easy not to do it. It's easy to do. It's whatever you decide. It's that split second decision. Am I going to do it or am I not going to do it? Am I going to go to bed or am I going to stretch myself one more time? Those are the practical things I would say. Read, put something in your brain that's helping you, eat the right things, exercise, and associate with people that are making you better, not with people that are pulling you down. There's only 2 different groups.
That's right. Oh, what are a couple things that you're doing to leave a positive legacy that some of the viewers can actually apply?
I think emotional stability is extremely important, especially with raising children. Patience is huge. My son was put on this earth, I'm convinced, to test my patience and expand that.
Amen.
Probably a little bit of karma in there. So yeah, emotional stability is huge. And Andy Frisell always talks about being the gas man. I think it's extremely important to have an energy about you that people recognize you for. Showing up to work and always being in a positive attitude is extremely important, especially in my realm in sales. That's honestly is it's the make or break of how successful you are in that realm. If people can feel your energy, you win.
Yep.
And I think that's big as far as being on a sales team. That's huge because if you go, it's easy to go in on a Monday and be like, oh man, dude, I can't believe it's Monday, and then just living that cycle all the time. So I think being the gas man, cheering people on, giving people, and it's so easy to do. And you said bullet points, gives one person that's within your circle every day a compliment. It's that easy.
I love that because everybody out there can do that.
Yeah, and dude, it makes that person's day. No one expects that. You walk, hey man, I listened to your pitch earlier. That was freaking awesome. And even ask for some feedback. Hey man, we should get together and go over that one time. If you don't mind, have a second or so. Dude, that guy feels like a freaking god. He's like, dude. Goes home, he's like, dude, so and so told me I had a good pitch today, babe. I'm pretty much a big deal. But people do that, and it's such. You take 5 seconds of your day, and you're like, dude, good job.
Yeah,
and even your kids. Are you kidding me? You just watch your kids' eyes light up. Like my daughter loves Minecraft. So I went up there today. We were checking. She's like, hey, look at all the cool stuff I built. I'm like, holy cow, how'd you do that? Like that's incredible.
Yep.
They love it. It inflates them. Be a gas man. Emotional stability. Be consistent. Don't be up and down. Be consistent in your emotions around your kids, your family, your workplace.
That's huge in today's society. I agree with that. That's more so now than what it's been in the past because of everything that you see. You're bombarded with information that can take you up and down. That's awesome.
It's tough, man. Don't bring your work home with you, man. So it's easy.
Sure.
Like everyone has bad days at work. Like your family doesn't need to feel your bad day. Right?
Sure. No,
don't bring your bad day and be like and project it on your kids. It's not their fault.
Too, like what makes a man, like, dude, man, internalize some of that stuff. I mean, like what it doesn't make you a bad person. Like you don't need to bottle stuff up, but I mean, like you don't need to share it either necessarily.
Well, get rid of it in a different way. Write it down. Do whatever you need to do. Get rid of it in a different way. Don't put it on your family.
Get your little tree. Grab onto the leaves, your little word, your stress tree. Leave it all there.
Those little rocks you rub in your
Get you a punching bag.
And you burn it.
Yeah, there you go.
Dude,
Dude, that's sweet.
I do it. I do it all the time.
And just watch it.
I'll put stuff in my draft folder in my email because people send stuff to me all the time. Most of my stuff's in email. I'll put it in email, and I'll be like, you know what? I don't need to send that email because it's really, really nasty.
Yeah,
I probably don't need to send that email. I'll wait a day, and then afterwards I'll go, you know what? Probably don't need to send it out. I'm not going to send it, and I'll print it, and then I'll burn it.
I like it.
That's solid. I like that.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
that's good.
I'll burn it. So, Wilson, what you got, baby?
So
Come
what
on,
I like to do,
give our audience some nuggets. You got it right here.
So nuggets that I give. Basically, man, I like to live my life in encouragement. Positivity, like you were talking about, and always being positive. Find the silver lining. Find the good thing in the bad. If you're going through shit, find something that's going to be good to get out of it, because if you stop, you're just going to be in shit. So I was like, that's pointless. So just, for me, I always want to be the right example for my son in every single situation that I come into. And we love meeting new people and making new friends, being social, being positive and uplifting. If you look on my threads, anything you see on social media, everything that I have that shares is typically a positive reinforcement of something. So I think positivity can breathe success. It could also, attract the right people to you. If you're going to be negative Nancy, take that crap somewhere else, because nobody cares for negative. There's enough of negative out there already. So
it's easy.
It's super easy. It's easier to find the negative and pick apart what's wrong with something versus
the only
trying
thing easier
to find
than
something
negative is the weather, right?
Right. So for me, that's my biggest thing, because I genuinely love people, and I like to uplift them and encourage them and make them feel better. And the other thing is just personal development. Every single day, trying to do something better and growing financially. For my legacy, we want to eliminate the idea of money, not have to worry about my family ever having to struggle like we had to struggle. My wife and I had a major, accomplishment in life because of where we came and to where we're at to now. And I give all that glory to God, which is crazy. I think prayer is huge. If you're a Christian or you call yourself a Christian, you should be praying every single day. If that's you, if you don't believe in that, meditate. Think about things in your life that you can improve. Get some silence. There's so many distractions, so much stuff coming at you every single day. It's like, dude, do you have your own original thought? Do you even use your head? Mm-hmm. Think things through. And I had to learn that through mentorship and some other arenas to actually think through these problems versus just being that yes guy. Oh, you tell me to do this? Okay, I'll do it. No, think of it for yourself.
Yep.
So bullet points, read for sure. Be positive, smile. Daggum, there's so many people with RBF so bad. It's like, come on, dude, just smile.
What's RBF stand for?
Resting bitch face. There you go.
Resting bitch face. I just want to hear you say bitch.
Yeah, okay. I've said that twice now. It's the
I
second
love
time.
when you cuss.
I do too.
Yeah.
It gets me excited because I feel like you get fired up when you cuss.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And
Listen to
because we're
episode
going to
2.
get some emails. Yeah.
I'm going to get a lot of hate mail. That's for sure.
You can direct message us at Shepherds of Men.
All right, you Baptist people out there listening,
We love
don't
you.
judge me.
We love you.
love
We love you.
but you can't be very judgmental.
If all you heard was bitch, then you need to go to another podcast.
yeah, you missed
probably another
the
marriage.
whole content.
Jeez.
So
You probably need to be praying more than anybody on this podcast.
absolutely.
Hey, and we'll pray for you.
And
Yes.
and I think daily routine. So my daily thing, and this is not for me for bragging or whatever. I'm just giving you what I do. Every morning, I don't start my day without prayer. I
Sure.
literally pray 10, 20, 30 minutes on average.
Yep.
And it's for other people. It's not just for me and what's going on. I give thanks for what I'm doing. I think people should be thankful and actually have a genuine heart of thanksgiving. But there's a lot of things that can be done, but I think you should be thankful. You should be positive. You should uplift other people, and you should think of others instead of yourself.
Preach.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I think every one of you guys really get it. And I think if you guys really follow the roadmap that you've created, you guys are going to be in good shape when it comes to a legacy standpoint. Webster says that legacy is defined as something that is left behind after a person has passed, which makes sense, right? So your legacy is something that you have done, the seeds that you've sown and stuff like that may not have been reaped until you left. And I 100% agree with you guys on a lot of the stuff that you said.
You said you 100% agree with some of the stuff you said.
Yeah, well, there's certain things, mostly what you said, that I don't agree with.
Oh, wow.
That's okay.
No, but I do believe that as a man, if you have figured out a certain aspect of life as a man, whether it's relational, fatherhood, Christianity, whatever it is, as a legacy, it is your responsibility to pass it on. And I think that's where a lot of people miss it. A lot of people are very shy about moving things to the next generation or moving things to the next person as far as that's concerned. I think the personal growth aspect of it is super important. I think it is super important from a personal aspect because you have no business talking to other people if you are sour in your own soul. You just don't. You need to get your shit together. You need to get it right. But if you have your stuff together and you have it right and you're shaking your head right now in this podcast, it is your responsibility. That word responsibility, to move that on to the next generation. Like, start to infuse stuff into the next generation. Like, start to really, and I'm not talking about men, I'm talking about women. Like, start to let women see what you do and go, you know what? There are gentlemen in this world. That's how we create the next generation. That's how we create our legacy. Now, from a legacy standpoint in your house, if you're not doing that for your kids, shit, man. Like, why don't you just, like, go find something else to do? Like, Jesus. Like, seriously. Like, I don't even know where to go from there. Like, you guys have covered that 100%. But I think where a lot of men miss the bar is their vision. There is nobody that like truly stands in the gap for a lot of men. You can see a lot of older women sitting in these, whether it's homes or together doing this stuff. And how often do you see old men sitting at the reunions talking to other men going, listen, boy, you're doing good, but you need to head this way, not that way. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm just going to be honest with you. If you really think about stuff, if you look at family reunions, there's a lot of older women that are sitting around wondering when the muffins are going to be done and stuff like that and talking about the cooking and stuff. But there's very few older men, because being a man is tough. I mean, it really is. There's not a lot of older men sitting at these family reunions, sitting back there going, listen, boy, you're doing a good job, but you need to hang a left. You need to do about 25 degrees to the west, and you'll be right on target. So a lot of men lose their vision. A lot of men do. And some of that has to do with the fact that there's not enough older men that are directing them. Some of it has to do with the pride that men have, because you have to, at some point, you have to walk out and go, you know what? I don't know where I'm going. I need help.
Yep.
That's hard.
Huge.
That's hard for a man. You have to come out and say, hey, I need help. You know, so for me personally, I think that is the biggest thing about leading the next legacy, like really creating a positive legacy and leading the next group of people is determining where your compass is pointed and really focusing on where it's going, because you don't have that guide and you need it. So for me personally, I don't think what was really ironic to me is neither definition from a legacy or a legend side of things was positive. Neither one was inherently positive. And I don't know if you guys looked at that, but a legend could be a evil spirit that is a legend, or it could be a positive thing that's a legend, whether it's Michael Jordan or whoever it is. Legacy is the same way, and that's why I wanted to talk about having a positive legacy within things. So for me personally, when you look at things like that, I don't care if you don't want to be a legend, you don't want to do something great, you don't have to. Nobody's asking you to be great, but be very, very coherent to the legacy that you're leaving, because you can leave a negative legacy. Oh, yeah. You can leave 2, 3, 4, 5 generations down the road that go, we're finally recovering because my great-great-grandfather was a real asshole. He was a shithead. He didn't take care of my great-great-grandmother. He was, whatever his problems were and stuff. So, for me personally, I think the one thing that I want to leave is the fact that be very conscious of your legacy, because you're going to leave one regardless. Your legacy will be left regardless. But you are the variable, and you determine if it's positive or negative, and if it's big or small. So, I got a couple questions for you. Will your legacy live past your eulogy and encourage people to do great things in life? Or will your legacy go to the grave with you? I'll let you think about that for a minute, because that's a big deal. That's something that every single day you should think about. In my opinion, you should think about that stuff in every single day. And then to go kind of back to what we were talking about from the very beginning, and this is something that I think is going to start to become a trend within our podcast, is who are you becoming? As a man, who are you becoming? This isn't one of those things like, hey, you should do A and B over the next 3 weeks and then you'll be good to go. It should be a constant struggle of becoming something better.
Every day.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how old you are either.
It doesn't.
Yeah, right.
As long as you're alive, you can become better.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter about your past mistakes, what you did, where you came from, who you are, your lineage, whatever. You have the ability to change what they would like to say, your stars. You could change your destiny. You can change what the end result will be, or that story that's being written right now.
Your past does not determine your future.
Absolutely.
Correct.
So with that, thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you guys being a part of it, man. You guys know just as well as we do that we're not going to be able to grow without you. Our intention is we're going to continue to do this because we believe that we are going to make a large impact in our society, the country, and the world over time. And we're definitely going to need the help from all the other shepherds that are out there, or shepherds to be. So if you guys are listening to this right now, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Leave us a comment on any of our social media presences, man, so that we can create some engagement with you guys, man, because ultimately our goal is to improve. Our goal is to empower. And all those links are going to be located on our website. Our website is Shepherds, SHEPHERDS of Men, which is the dot before the men. Man, we appreciate you guys jumping on the podcast. You guys have been part of the movement, and look forward to episode number 4. You guys have a great week.